issues with your ears. Is that correct? Yes. Well, I'd like to have a little look around. Looks like there are quite a few things that we need to take a little look at. But first, I just want to show you a little bit about what I'm looking at and what I'd like to do with your ears. Okay, so let's take a little look. At my own ear here. So, when we talk about the ear as a whole, this cartilaginous structure, this can be called the auricle or the pinna. We have right in here, this is the lobe or the lobule. This is the more fleshy part of the ear. And we can do a bit of palpation here. See if there are any lesions or if there's any abnormalities underneath or inside the skin. And as we come up along here, we get into the helix of the ear, which is going to be more of a hard part compared to the lobe. And this is another area where primarily we are going to be palpating. We look at its ability to stretch, make sure none of that is painful, as well as down here, pull down, out. And then we have right in here, there's a little dip called the triangular fossa for its little triangular shape. We have the helix here, and then we have this fold called the antihelix, meaning it is opposite of the helix. We have the tragus here, this little slightly movable part of the ear. And then right in here, opposite, we have the antitragus right in here. And then if we follow the helix, follow the folds inside the ear, we have what's called the concha, or colloquially, it's called the bowl of the ear. And then we have the external auditory meatus right here, the opening of the ear canal. So this is all part of the external ear. We have the ear canal, which is our middle ear, and then everything inside of the tympanic membrane is going to be our inner ear. So we're going to do some palpation, some stretching, and just make sure all of that looks good. So the first thing here, I would actually like to clean your ears up a little bit. There's a few things that might make it a bit difficult to see what's going on. So I've got some cotton buds. I've got a little cotton ball here, and there we are. moistened. That should be enough. And this is going to be a little cold, okay? Alright, so we are going to be very gentle. And we're going to wipe around the front of the ear. Very gentle. The external ear. And let's see if we can get behind the ear. There we are. Good. Just a nice general little cleanup here. Make it easier to see what we've got going on. Okay, other side here. So tell me a little bit about why you've come to see me to get your ears looked at. Mm-hmm. Behind the ear here. Let's see if we can get. There we go. It's quite nice. Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. I have some ideas about what might be going on, but we're going to do a thorough examination nevertheless. So, we got a good bit of your ears cleaned up, but I want to go in and do a bit of detail work. So let's get this cotton bud and very gently clean the folds of the ear so that all the skin is visible. Good. And behind the ear, it's much easier to get at the root of the ear. And then I'm going to use the dry side to clean that all up. There. That didn't take much effort at all. It worked out quite nicely. Good. And the other side. Wet cotton bud to get in little cracks and crevices. The folds of the ear, which are designed specifically to funnel sound into the ear. There we are. Good. Right in front of the ear. And the concha here. Good. And behind the ear. Just giving the back of the ear a nice scrub. And then we'll dry that off. There we are. Nice and refreshed. and ready for a proper examination. Good. So, let me just make a little bit of room here. And then we are going to do our inspection of the ears. So, I got a little bit of a look at each ear when I was cleaning it, but now this is where we really get quite detailed with it. Do let me know if at any point you feel any pain, any discomfort at all. We'll take a look at the pre-auricular area right in front of the ear here. Both sides. We'll do a little look at the helix, the triangular fossa here, the folds of the ear down to the lobe right here. The tragus, that little fleshy piece right in here that I showed you. Good. And I'm just going to flip the ear forward, just like so, and then I can look at the root of the ear and the back of the ear. So I'm going to take 2 fingers to just flip that forward. Good, and then we're just going to look at the post-auricular area as well. Good. Good. And the other side. Looking at the lobe up to the helix, into the triangular fossa, into the concha, tragus, in front of the ear, and we need to flip the ear so that we can take a look behind. Good. Good. Now I'd like to do some stretch tests on the ear, pulling down on the lobe, back on the lobe, where the lobe meets the helix, back, along the helix, pulling up, pulling back, pulling forward. See if there's any pain or tenderness at all. So, we'll start with the lobe. Is this painful or tender at all? Okay, and how about this? Here. Here. Okay. Here. ears forward, just like this. How does that feel? Okay, excellent. And from a little bit lower. Okay. And if I push back on the ears with the heels of my hands, just like this. Was that? Okay. Good to know. Your ears are quite a bit less flexible than mine. Mine have quite a bit more give to them, but it's not so rigid that I would think there's an issue. So, now we can grab our otoscope, get a good look inside the ears, and we can put on our speculum here. I'd like to take a look at this ear first here. Now with the otoscope, I will be pressing my hand against the side of your face so that it'll keep me from poking at you in case you accidentally move. And the tip of the otoscope will go just inside here, and it'll stay put. It shouldn't move too much at all. I'm not going to jam it in there. We're just going to gently pull up and back, straighten the ear canal, and then put the otoscope right in the ear. So we've got a good look at the ear canal. So what we have going on here, we have the external auditory meatus, which is free of any erythema, any issues with pigmentation. We have they're just repositioning a bit. We have the ear canal, non-irritated, and looks like, okay, that's not quite right there. Let me see, I'm going to get a bit closer here. Okay, well, if I finagle a bit, so there's the tympanic membrane, good color, and no perforation, but it is difficult to see. There's not really a good path here. It's a bit, okay, that's not quite. Alright, let's see. Okay. I can see what you were talking about, and it does look like we have a bit of a blockage in this ear. Did you say you were having issues in both ears then? Yes. Okay, so I expect we'll see something similar on the other side. So we're going to pull up and back. And let's see. Alright. I want to do a little bit of testing to see what exactly this blockage, this bilateral blockage, is affecting. So, I am going to be just whispering in each ear. And if you could tell me what word I'm saying, you could just repeat back what you're hearing on each side. We can test a little bit if it's affecting your hearing. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's not quite going well at all, is it? Okay, well, let's raise the volume a little bit and see what we get. That's not much doing it either, is it? Okay. Wait. Duct. Okay, let's try a little bit louder. Measuring. Eraser. Wax. Okay, those are quite hard though, aren't they? Yeah, alrighty. Writing. Flower. Concrete. Wood. Carving. Retractable. Yarn. Right, a little bit louder. Cord. Rubberized. Cut. Much better. Excellent. Okay. Baseball. Container. Guitar. Okay, and obviously you can hear my speaking voice just fine. So it sounds like we're having some mild hearing loss, mostly with whispered sounds, quite low sounds. So get another little peek here, and we'll investigate this blockage a bit more. So we're going to pull the air up and back so that we can just put the otoscope right there. There we go. Okay. Looks like there is a good amount here, but this is certainly something that I believe could be rather easily dealt with. We'll need some special tools, I think, but overall, I think if maybe do a bit of an extraction, and then let me just readjust a bit here. There we go. Okay, so we need maybe an extraction, and then I think we'll do, let's see, do I want to do a fully manual extraction, or maybe we employ a bit of chemical agent to help break that down a bit? I mean, we can always start manual and just see how that goes. I think that might be the way we want to go with that. We just readjust a little bit again here. We just want to make sure that we're not damaging anything, and we're not pushing anything further back against a tympanic membrane. Okay. Alright, so I think this is certainly something that we can do that is not going to have too much fuss. It'll be quite simple, but I do want to look at the other side and make sure that it's the same story there as well. Go up, back, and then right there. Okay, so I'm just going to we're going to turn this and just leave that in there. There we go. It's a little bit easier for being here a little longer. Let me just readjust. There we go. So this one's a little bit worse, I think. Think of this one. So the thing is that once you used a chemical agent, we don't want to use too much. But sometimes it's just easier to do. Let's readjust here. Okay. It's just easier to do a bit of manual extraction and get what we can. And then we can always clean up later we tend to use hydrogen peroxide solution, which can be quite drying. So the manual extraction, we are also preserving the skin inside the ear and not irritating it nearly as much. So I think that even with the amount we have going on, that's probably the way we want to go. So yeah, we want to just jot that down. So my left side, your right ear, with the manual extraction, let me just see if I can get our little tools here. Open this up. So when we do a manual extraction, we have quite a few different options for getting out the blockage. We have these little ear spoons. We have a couple types of tweezers here. We have a little lighted ear scoop here. And we have different types of feathers and bits of down, brushes, little wooden scoop there. And even for the outside of the ear, a little knife there. It's quite dull what it's used for. You can see it's not sharp at all, but we can scrape the ear, get any dead skin cells and accumulated oils, and just scrape that off. We have that, but your case here is going to take quite some time for us to resolve. We're going to have to definitely use quite a few of our tools. Probably also have to get out our hydrogen peroxide solution. We can't quite get everything. And then we need to make sure to clean that out so that it doesn't irritate the inside of the ear. So I think that I'm going to go back in with the otoscope and we can do a bit of a game plan. So let me open up my toolkit. And we'll see how I want to go about this so that when you come back, we can just get right into it. Okay. So let's take a peek here. Good. Alright, so I think the very first thing we want to do is we want to get any loose bits that will just come right out. So I think maybe the tweezer external ear. And then we can get what we can with, let's see, we have those bits of down. That'll probably do the job quite well. We have a few sizes of spoon there, but I think that'll get the majority of that there. Okay. I think we will stick mostly. Let's look in here. This is going to be a little different because there's a lot more going on. So let's see. Maybe we start here with forceps and we just get what we can. And this side looks much more liable to get pushed back. So let's see, we might have to use, we have a very tiny spoon with a little scrapey guy there. We use that one, but these little, I think that the little alligator forceps are probably what we're going to use the most, and then we can get out our other little tools there, but I definitely think this is going to take a lot longer. So this is the one, if we do have to bring out the peroxide, it's definitely going to be this one. Let's see. I think these ones are going to be our main squeeze. These little alligator forceps with the tiny little teeth inside there. And we might be able to use this little guy, especially at the opening of the ear. This one isn't really meant to go too far in. The little grabbers are quite large. And what I was talking about earlier with the tiny spoon, so this little end has this little scrapey bit, but this has a very tiny little spoon here that we can use to scrape out. At least it's a lot smaller than this guy right here. But this is good for against the walls of the ear canal. And then, yeah, we can grab a little fuzzy guy here, spin it around, and clean out the ear that way before we irrigate and dissolve Does that sound alright to you? Okay, we should be able to get this all figured out quite easily. Now, I've done quite a bit of messing around in the ear, so why don't we do one final little cleanup here. Let's get another cotton ball. And let that down a bit. There we go. Okay. Oh, we're just going to gently wipe everything down, so at least when you go, the external ear is quite clean, and then we'll schedule an appointment to get everything else all cleaned up. Good. There, and behind the ear. Okay. Good. You just make sure that we got everything here. And here. Okay. Very good. Very good. So, when are you available to get your ears all cleaned out? Okay, so that would be in a few days. And let's see, I have an opening at 12 p.m. if that works for you. Okay, let's go ahead and chat you in then. Ear cleaning, p.m. And that's in just a few days. Okay, we will get everything all extracted and back to shipshape. I'd like to thank you so much for coming into my office. I'm glad we were able to figure out what was going on. We'll be able to resolve that in a couple of